First, our context. Did anybody have the pleasure of watching the presidential debate earlier this week? Yeah, that wasn't too great. Was anyone frustrated by it? Frustrated, to put it mildly. Yeah. And that's hardly the only frustration we have right now. And this is an important moment to let ourselves feel that, to not hide it or pretend that on some level it's okay. I even made the comment just before Mass, like, it's normal because it's good. Talking about, just Mass will be normal today. There's nothing extra, nothing unusual. Normal is good, otherwise it wouldn't be normal. And there is really a lot wrong in the world today. It's at moments like these, whether he himself was angry, or he could see that we kids were upset, that my dad was really good at addressing and teaching us how to handle these difficult moments. I found his fatherly wisdom to be steady and true, and good preparation even for all the learning that I've gone on to do in seminary and beyond. So, now that I'm Father Rick, this is a good time for a dad talk. First, it's okay that you feel frustrated. These bad things that you're frustrated about are bad. They're not the way they're supposed to be. And it certainly doesn't help that they're mostly reported on badly, incompletely, telling you just enough to rile you up, but not enough to help you do something about it. What can you do about it? You can only do what you can do. You are responsible not for everything that goes wrong. You are responsible for you and what you can do. It's very easy to look out and to recognize failings in others and point a finger and assign blame and make excuses. But it's just as easy to give ourselves a pass and overlook our own failings. It's especially easy when we're used to a comfortable life. Like both vineyards that we hear about tonight, God has blessed us with so much. We tend to remember and focus more on the visible and material blessings, good health, a steady job, a predictably secure and stable society, a prosperous economy. We may even grow used to these things and take them for granted, feeling entitled to them, rather than receiving and working with them gratefully as the blessings that they are. But either way, they are not the greatest blessings. God does not merely want for us to feel good for a while and to be decent and okay with each other for 70 or 80 years or so. He has given us life and grace to live to the fullest, already now and forever in heaven. To be filled already with his strength, to cooperate and fulfill our own personal part in his grand and perfect plan. Whether or not we're comfortable, whether or not that's part of it, whether or not we keep or lose or ever even have those material blessings, whether or not that's part of God's plan for us. Most of all, whether anyone else around us does their part better than us, or half-heartedly, or not at all, it really does not matter when it comes to what we should do. So what if everyone on TV and the internet is messed up and sinning blatantly? How well are you doing? And if you're doing a lot of good stuff, are you doing it thankfully? Are you humble, like you would like others to be? Or are you self-righteous, thinking you're so much better than everyone else who's wrong? Are you producing good fruit, or just the fruit of complaining about others who aren't producing what they should? Has your fruit turned sour and degenerated into wild grapes because of pride? It's easy for any of us, myself included, to slip up and do that. Pride is subtle. worming its way into practically every heart. When our hearts are corrupted, then we see the results we hear about in the readings. When people's hearts are corrupted, we see those results. The blessings we enjoy are ruined and taken away. The hedges and walls are broken down. Wild beasts come in and ravage it. The weeding and cultivation that was done for us ceases, and we are faced with thorns and briars. The rain stops, and we are parched, thirsting for relief. Sound familiar? The vineyard of the Lord of hosts is the house of Israel, and the people of Judah are his cherished plant. He looked for judgment, but see, bloodshed, for violence, but hark, the outcry. There is a lot of outcry in the world today, a lot of injustice. And I'm not saying that we're responsible for all of it, or that you're responsible for all of it. Many people blame others incorrectly. And yet, none of us is guiltless. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So before we write off someone or something that they say as wrong and worthless, having nothing to do with us, indicating no change we need to make or be part of making in ourselves first, and maybe the world too, remember these parables. What is the good fruit that God wants you to produce, and what will it take to produce it? What weeds are getting in the way? What thorns are holding you back? If you hate the wild animals wrecking everything, what work are you doing to bring unity and protection to the vineyard? What walls need to be up in your own life? One of them is probably a wall of discipline against distraction. I know it is for me. Another wall is probably a wall of faith against worry. There's a lot of bad in the world, for sure, but is worrying about it making anything better? Rather, is it not ruining your life and discouraging others? If other parts of the country are being trashed, what about your part? It does no good to worry about what might happen to the part with which you've been entrusted and made the steward. Instead of fearing the thorns and the beasts ruining the part of those who didn't do their job, do your job. Even the parts of the innocent and the faithful people that were destroyed along with the bad, even if those parts are devastated, cultivate your own ground, the ground that you've been given to work with, so that there are seeds to replant in both of those devastated areas. This community, this town, this area, and your families are vineyards and seed beds. You and your children are God's answers to the wreckage and ruin. I'm not saying ignore the situation. We should be aware, and we should mourn. I'm saying be more aware, be more responsive, have the whole story. Remember that God is the one who holds the whole thing. Remember that everything is in his providential hands. God doesn't live our lives for us, though. He helps us to live. Living out his plan is not restrictive. It's elevating. It's whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is gracious, any excellence, anything worthy of praise. Think about these things and remember they all come from God. They are what God wants for you. So keep on doing what you have learned and received and heard and seen in the saints. Then the God of peace will be with you. He and his way alone brings the peace that surpasses understanding, because it and he are transcendent, more than and from beyond this fallen world. The world and nothing in it can attain the perfection that it's fallen from. Rather, God in his perfection comes down to us in his word, in the Bible, in every prayer we make, in every act of love we choose to do, in every sacrament we celebrate, and especially at every Mass. He comes down to us that we may look up and see him, and lift up our hearts with joy, not just because things might get easier, but because he is peace beyond all understanding. Do, therefore, the good you're called to do, regardless of what those in power and the world around you is doing. Why? Because God, the all-powerful, says, I have chosen you from the world to go and bear fruit that shall remain.